And hello, everybody. Welcome in to the Super Bowl podcast, episode number 23. My name is Braden Dorman. Alongside me, David Arnold. And today, our man Harper Houck is out for the count, but we will get him back next episode. And today, we're blessed to have an awesome guest with us today. Today's guest is a senior on the GCU women's golf team, the president of the GCU Student Athletic Advisory Committee, and an athlete with a really cool story of God's faithfulness. Welcome onto the show, Becca Tschetter.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be on today.
Yeah, we're really excited. We've never had a golfer on before.
Yep.
Guys that love to, what's the word? We like to play golf, but I don't know if we really play golf, if that makes sense.
Not the right way.
Yeah.
So ugly golf.
You guys were saying you like scrambles, so
Yeah.
Well,
we'll have to see.
we like scrambles because we don't have to rely on ourselves.
Yeah, when we have good players to scramble with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're excited to hear your story, obviously, but we're also excited for the lessons that you're going to give us to come on the golf course because we're going to need them. But Becca, thank you for coming on. Before we get to your story, we're going to actually do this or that, golf edition. We've got a couple questions we're going to send your way. See if they're controversial. Might be a couple hard ones that you got to decipher between, and then we'll tell you if they're the right or wrong answers.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's no right or
Let's
wrong.
Yeah. Okay, here we go. So first question, it's going to be basically would you rather. So, would you rather make a hole-in-one on a par 3 or make a double eagle on a par 5?
Hole in one on a par 3.
Okay.
There's just nothing like it. I've only had one.
Okay, I wanted to ask actually. So, what was that experience
What a
like?
flex.
Because we have not experienced such.
So I was actually golfing with Carmen. She was my teammate last year. We were just out playing 3 holes, which kind of stinks because it didn't get to really get written on a card. But
Yeah.
Right.
it was like 164 yards, and I hit a 6-iron, and I ended up bringing my wedge up to the hole thinking I went way over. And then I was like, I'm going to go look at the hole just to see. And she was recording because we thought maybe it would have been in. And so we got the whole reaction, and it was pretty fun.
Yeah, we might have to throw that in.
That's unreal.
Might have to throw that in the episode here.
True.
That is
Maybe so, yeah.
First off, what a flex! You've only hit one.
Only. What
I
a
think
bummer.
we'd all love to hit one. I think you know that, so
Yeah.
watch it.
From
Watch
like
it.
40 yards, I'll take a hole-in-one. I mean,
Yeah.
160.
Once it, she knows the yardage,
Yeah.
which I think we all would.
Oh, yeah.
Which hole? Where was I? That's awesome.
Did you keep the ball saved?
Oh, that's actually funny that you ask, because I ended up having to go back and look at the pictures of the ball in the hole, and then going through this box, which I mark all my balls the same.
Oh.
So I was deciphering which ball looked the same because, well, I had never had a hole in one. And I don't know why I didn't think to keep the ball and like sign it right away.
Yeah.
We ended up actually we kept playing, and I played with that ball.
Yeah, that's
And
funny.
so like a week later, I decided it was like this Titleist too, and I was just going to go with it. So
I'm sure it's the ball.
Yeah.
That's crazy because if I hit a hole in one, I would hide it and not allow me to hit the next ball because there's a good chance my next drive's
in the
gone.
woods. Yeah, in the
Gone.
water.
So
Yeah.
I guess you can do that because you hit the ball straight. So that's cool.
Yeah. Another
try.
flex.
All right, you go with another one, then I'll go.
Okay. All right, this is a question from Harper. Radioed it in. All right.
Hey, Harper.
Shout out Harper. Would you rather play around at sunrise or sunset?
sunset for sure.
I'm with you on that one. I like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Those are the best. They just kind of get like a little cooler.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
It's beautiful at GCU too, GCU's golf course. And do you play, like, that's where you guys practice, right?
Yep.
Yeah, that is a sweet sunset spot. But also, I don't mind a nice little sunrise
Yeah.
in the morning. Get your day up, get the day going. Get off around 11 a.m. Got the whole day ahead
Kind of
of you.
depends on if you're a morning person or a night person a little bit too. 'Cause,
Yeah.
I mean, sunrise is pretty early, so be out in the links. It's nice and early. So
Good answer. All right, I got the next one.
yeah.
Okay.
Would you rather play Pebble Beach once a year for the rest of your life, or play Augusta National one time?
Oh. I got to go with Augusta one time.
Yeah.
I feel like that's a popular answer. It's like,
It's so hard to get on there, too.
Yeah.
Pebble Beach, I mean, you just got to pay.
yeah,
You
like
actually have to
$500
stay there.
around or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess the National is, I mean, as you said, like, it's not like you can just say, oh, I've got all the money in the world, I can just go play. Like, maybe you can. I don't know. There might be a certain amount of money, but, like, that place is protected, and it's hard to golf there. And obviously all the history there. So, yeah, that's a tough one because Pebble Beach, get that once a year would also be a pretty cool thing. What a crazy course that is, too, with the wind coming in from the ocean. And,
Yeah.
I think you can't go wrong with either.
No, I mean,
But-
yeah, for sure. And be a dream to play or be good enough to play either course. Would be I mean, that would be amazing, right? And not look like the idiot out there with the, like, hitting the third ball off the tee and it goes 5 yards. You're just like, well, I'm just going to pick this up and keep walking. So,
yeah.
but,
My swing coach, he actually will prepare people to play like big courses like that.
Really?
He has people come to him, take multiple lessons, and get their handicap down just to go. Like they got an invite, and then they schedule a bunch of lessons just to prepare. So.
Yeah. I mean, the last thing you want to do is go to one of those courses, hop on the first tee, and just
Oh, my
duff
goodness.
it. Like, you've
Oh,
got to
my
hit that
goodness.
first one straight. I'm scared at, like, a semi-nice country club or something.
Yep.
There's, like, 5 people watching. I'm like, oh, gosh. Hands are getting sweaty. Like,
yeah.
here we go.
Do you get nervous off first tees? Is that like yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's kind of nice when it isn't tee times and you're just on maybe a random hole because
Yeah.
there's just a little less pressure. But
Yeah.
when they're announcing your name, saying your hometown, you're like,
Oh, my goodness.
let's do this.
All eyes on you.
Yeah, right. And then, like when we'll go play other courses around the valley, even everyone around the clubhouse is kind of watching, and they expect a lot. So even there, you're like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, hey, you got GCU on the shirt, right? Like, you got to put on for somebody, and when they say your town's name, you're like, all right, I got to put on for my town as well. So, yeah, golf, what a mental, crazy pressure situation it is, and props to people that can somehow get over that hump and just figure it out. I know that's a tough one.
Yeah, no doubt. I got one more question for you.
okay.
All right. This is a fun one. Would you rather have an opportunity to sink a 10-foot putt for $1 million or be given $50,000 risk-free? You could just take $50,000 or chance it on a 10-foot putt for $1 million buckaroos.
That's a really good question. For a golfer, that's a really good question, right?
Yeah,
That
for me, it's
is.
like 50 grand. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm good.
My finance brain right now, I'm like, well,
Yeah.
if I invest that 50,000,
Yeah, well, over 20 years.
you're
with
right,
a-
compound interest. Okay, just because I really like the pressure situations. Yesterday at the rim, I had to sink a 6-footer for a sweatshirt, but I'll try the 10-footer for $1 million, and
Let's go.
I think I could trust myself.
And no regrets there if you miss.
Gave it your best. I mean,
Yeah, I just believe. I think it would happen.
I mean, I think I would probably feel pretty good about my putting too if I was in your situation. So
yeah. Whew. That would, the nerves on that putt.
that would certainly be some pressure, right?
Yeah.
Like to win the Masters, does it feel like?
Well,
I'm
yeah.
sure.
I mean, think
Yeah.
about that. I mean,
Yeah.
for pros, I mean,
That's what it is.
putts are like between like, all right, am I going to win 2 million or am I going to win 6 million? Like,
Yeah, seriously.
crazy. So,
Like thousands on the line for each shot. I'm sure they don't think about that, when they're playing, but that's kind of
They
what it
might
boils
be.
down
I
to.
mean,
Yeah. Maybe the
knows?
lower tiers, just hey, want some money to keep this going, But
yeah, right.
But yeah, man. Yeah, that would be hard to think of and hit the next shot, knowing, all right, this is a $10,000 shot here. We might want to make it,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the nerves in that, I wouldn't go well with me. So
How do you, as we start to kind of get into, I know your golf journey's been a crazy one, but how do you get over that pressure in those certain moments? Because I know there's probably 3 to 4 moments around where you're like, all right, the pressure's on here. And maybe it's more. I don't know. Maybe it's every shot. I don't know. But how do you get over that quick feeling of, all right, stress, pressure here before I take this shot?
Yeah, that's something that I've had to hone in over the years. Something I try to do is just rely on, I've done this how many times, trust that I've practiced enough to prepare myself for these shots. And it's my own fault if I'm feeling that still and not able to get over it. That was my ill preparation. But I've worked with a mental coach. He's out of Tennessee, and I actually got to meet him last year when we went and played there, because usually it's Zoom. But we really worked on defining my process. And so just relying on process, making sure my alignment and, my aim is good, and focusing on the things that my personality and my mental game relies on. So each person's way different. The approach that my mental coach takes is actually like in relation with your personality. So it's pretty cool.
Nice.
Super cool.
I mean, I would say golf, in my experience, is the most mentally taxing sport. I hit one bad shot, and then it's like, don't do that again in my head, and I'm like, I won't do it. And then I go up there and do the same thing, and then it's like, oh, everybody's looking at me. I don't know what to do. So how do you, after hitting a bad shot, how do you recenter your mind to be like, okay, that shot's in the past, or even a good shot, like a crazy hole-in-one? How do you keep playing to, know the next shot is what matters? Yeah,
so something I do is just try to keep myself in the middle, not get too high, not get too low, not get too forward or too behind. So let's say I'm getting, too ahead, kind of filling in my scorecard in my head, if I do birdie, I'll get this score.
Yep.
Well, I try to kind of draw back to something in the past that kind of just centers those thoughts out, or vice versa. If I'm that shot on that hole, then I think ahead, okay, well, there's another opportunity on this par 5 coming up. So just trying to keep myself at that, just base level, really level-headed, just kind of ride the wave instead of, surf it.
Yeah, exactly. Because for the non-professionals out there, man, it can get to your head. I've had friends that will just leave the course. They'll chuck their clubs. It's just a whole nother level. So again, props to you. So you're in your 4th year here at GCU. There have been some ups and downs. I'd love it if you could share your story on, why you ended up at GCU. I guess the passion for golf, where did that come from? And then, how have you gotten to this point here in year 4 in a really good spot? And I know that you're really loving how you get to contribute to your team at this point in your life.
Yeah. So goes back to my 7th grade year. I was playing basketball and volleyball mainly, really competitive with basketball, traveling all over for it. That was my main sport then. Golf was during volleyball season, and so I ended up picking it up 7th grade year because my best friend at the time, we were kind of new besties. She started golf, so of course I had to do everything that she does. Shout out Paige. She's still my best friend.
Let's go.
Yeah. So she ended up saying, hey, you should go out for the golf team too. So I ended up going out. We both maybe went to a few practices, and then volleyball season started. So we just stopped going, which I don't know why that happened, but it did. And so then the next year, I ended up thinking, okay, I'm just going to go all in for golf. I was burnt out with volleyball. I just didn't see it going anywhere. So I started getting lessons down here, actually in Arizona. I'm from North Dakota, so there's not a ton of teachers up there, but I mean, the ones that are there are great. It's just, I ended up coming down here and working with my swing coach that I still work with today.
Wow.
And so that kind of got me introduced into the Arizona area. I was like, wow, Arizona's super cool. I really didn't know anything about GCU at that time, or even was thinking about college because I was very beginner. Fast forward, I ended up taking 3rd at state my junior year, and I thought I could maybe do something with that. And then I started playing in the summers in Minnesota, playing against other girls who were planning on playing college golf, and I was competing against them pretty well. So I thought, okay, I think I can do this. Kept coming down to Arizona once or twice a year. And that was my only instruction. And then I would always take the winters off because I was a basketball player. So I kept playing basketball all the way through senior year, and that was still a really big focus in my life. So then my sophomore, junior year, kind of reverting back, that's when I spent my summers really playing golf and traveling around instead of really like traveling for basketball and stuff. So my basketball game, I mean, I still was okay, but I probably wasn't as good as I could have been if I would have put all my eggs in that basket. But that's kind of what you need to do to get to that next level. And so my sister had toured GCU, and ever since she toured, I was like, wow, that college looks amazing. So I just like had it in my mind. I ended up taking a trip down here one spring, and I had told the coaches here at GCU because I was in contact with them. I just, quite frankly, was not good enough to go here. But I had told them, hey, I'm going to be in town. Is there any way I could do like an unofficial visit? And they said, yes, come on down. We'll take you around campus, blah, blah, blah. Well, I actually hadn't had my tickets booked until they said yes. So I got myself down here, took the tour, kind of got myself in front of them. And then a year later, I played down here in a qualifier. They ended up watching me there. I got to the next round, or to the next tournament that qualifier got me into, and had a meeting with them the next day. They offered me, and then I waited a while to commit, and I ended up committing on like a different agreement than what we had discussed that first meeting. But my family and I just really thought that GCU is a good place for me above and beyond golf. So we just made that work. I just like waited too long and kind of missed an opportunity, but that was totally on me. And also like my game wasn't at that level yet to come here, quite frankly. So I came here freshman year, didn't play. That was during COVID. The fall, it was all just like super restricted. We could only hang out with 3 girls in our pod. Although we never had a case on our team during that time, it was super challenging, like very challenging. We couldn't even go to the grocery store, couldn't do anything off campus, where everyone else down here, and especially like in Arizona was pretty open. Right. Mm-hmm. And so for us to be so restricted was really tough. And that's kind of when I started to find the Lord. And I know we'll get into that. I'll kind of wrap up golf.
Yeah.
But I started going to the Collective that year on Wednesdays. And so that kind of got me into my faith at college, which there's like Becca's faith before college and Becca's faith during college and now. So I'll kind of finish my golf talk and then kind of do that story.
There's always BC Becca and
then
AC. Yeah.
There you go.
That's our go-to. We talk about that. Once
all the time. Yeah, all the time.
Yeah, right. It's the mess that turned into the message and whatever. Yeah. So
come on.
So that freshman year, we lived with all the golfers as well. So all we would do was wake up, eat, go to the course from like 7 to 7, practice, eat there, do everything at the course, and we just grinded that whole year. And again, I was not ready to take that big leap to GCU. And so I knew I had to put in 10 times the effort that everyone else was doing because I was so behind. So then sophomore year, again, didn't play the whole year. Besides the home tournament. So both freshman year and sophomore year, I played the home tournament, which I did lose a whole year, both years, which just hurts my heart, but that's okay. It's all in God's plan. So, so then after sophomore year, I was like, man, 2 years of my golf career in college, like I could have been playing somewhere and really contributing to a team. I had this like yearning to compete, and that's just been my whole life is competing. And I was just at home, playing against the girls at home week after week, never being, good enough, just my game just still wasn't good enough. And so, and again, practicing, 10 times what maybe a lot of the girls were just because I knew I had to catch up. And so then that summer after my sophomore year, I said, okay, I'm giving myself one more semester at GCU where I'm going to put everything into it. And if it doesn't work, I think my coaches would have agreed, like, it would be time for me to move on. And I prayed to the Lord. I was like, God, I want GCU to work out so bad. I just, above and beyond golf, like I thought coming in, it was just incredible, like just moved mountains in my life being here. And so I ended up that summer just sacrificing everything. I, woke up early, was working out 2 times a day. I was practicing the whole day, sun up to sundown, and seeing mental coaches, working with my swing coach, just doing the most. So then I came in the fall last year, and I ended up, I think I took second in qualifying overall. And I was shooting scores that I never thought I would be shooting. And I always tell people this. I was just like living an answered prayer. I was like, Lord, like, thank you so much, because I did want it to be GCU. I wanted to stay here. Yeah. And so I remember we were playing True North for our last round of qualifying, and I just had to bogey the last hole was all to like really solidified my spot. I just couldn't like maybe triple or like have an 8 on the hole. Or braid
in it, yeah.
Yeah. Luckily, we weren't hitting that shot.
Yeah, well, and again, like, that's on your mind too.
Of
but
course. Yeah.
We got to the parking lot after, and when my coach said the lineup, the starting 5, I just like started crying, and it was just, again, like such an answered prayer. And I called my parents after, and I was just like, I made the team, and they ended up coming to my first event, and they've followed me ever since. But yeah, then had a really good season. She ended up giving me scholarship last spring, so re-signed for
awesome.
money, and then that's continued this year, which is just like such a blessing too to my family and I. As we all know, I mean, private Christian affordable, but college is still really expensive.
Yep.
So just to be rewarded with that is such a blessing. So I'm just eternally just so grateful for that, and for her like trusting me as her player. And
yeah, I mean, how about that? Like, talk about the different answers the Lord can give you through prayer, and like that was a consistent prayer that you were asking for. There was a desire there that you had, and you made it clear to the Lord, right? He could have said yes freshman year. He could have said yes sophomore year. He could have said no, but he said wait. And he never clearly says wait, right? Like maybe you hear like, all right, I need to be patient here. And props to you for having that patience and understanding. Whether I get to fully contribute to my team, I get to be on this campus, pouring into my teammates, being poured into by the great people that are here. But you waited, and the Lord provided. It's a very cool story, and I think it's going to inspire a lot of people.
Yeah, and I love the mindset of, when you made a decision, I'm going all in. I'm going to control what I can control and leave the rest up to the Lord. Is ultimately what you did there by, you sacrificed a lot to do your best and to go all in golf and for GCU, and clearly the Lord honored that, and he saw the commitment, and he allowed it to be. And what a cool story that is for any younger athletes too, watching, like, of just what can happen when you put your mind to something. And I mean, of course, allowing the Lord to lead and guide and knowing that his plan will come to fruition, but putting in the work as well of being like, I'm not just going to sit around and let God do all the work, right? Of course, he's going to control the uncontrollables, but we can control what we can control.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that's a really cool example of that, and I think that's great for whatever we're in, whether post-golf or post-sport, right, after we graduate with future jobs, future careers, like whatever we're doing, just serving, and doing it as we're serving the Lord, because that's really what we're doing ultimately. So very cool.
Yeah, so now senior year coming up. We're excited to follow the season to come. I know the WAC tournament's going to be here in Phoenix. I know you were telling us beforehand that you guys get to kind of practice. I don't know if I should be saying that out loud. The other teams might get jealous, but you guys get to be practicing on the WAC tournament course all throughout the year, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be such a cool opportunity just to have that experience up there. WAC is in April, so we've been able to practice now. We can practice, I believe, up until the month before at our conference course. So we're playing the Rim, and it's in. Okay, I always Payson. Yes, I always want to say Prescott, but it's the opposite way. So yeah, we go there quite often.
Yeah, as
Nice.
you should.
Yeah. I mean, yes, it's a home court advantage. It's just like any tournament getting it in your hometown, you know. We won't get to sleep in our own beds, but it's in our backyard, so that's really nice.
Still kind of home turf. But can you describe like kind of the first? So you made the team, right? And then that first match, what were the emotions like stepping up to the TV and like, I'm here, like this is something that I've prayed about, and like this is the moment it's happening. Like, can you describe the emotions of how that round went and just how you were feeling?
Yeah, so we were in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, which is just an amazing course.
I love Coeur d'Alene. Yeah.
So cool. Yeah.
Never been.
Island Green.
Oh yeah. That's a really cool course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really
it.
it's tough, but it's kind of resorty, so it's tough but forgiving. So the first round, I started out, I think, pretty poor. Like, I think I went bogey. And then I kind of settled in, had a few pars. And then I got to this one hole. It's along the lake. And I ended up, I think I sprayed 2 into the lake. And I was like, oh, I'm never traveling again. Like, you know, you always think of the worst case scenario in those instances. Yes. And I was just so immature. So I ended up finishing the hole, and I think it was a par 4, and I believe I got an 8 or a 9. So it really set me back.
Yeah.
But then after that, I just kept on grinding. I was like, okay, come on, you got to fight for this. You got to fight back. And I think I want to say 4 or 5 birdies after that hole.
Let's go.
Not in a row, but, you know, intertwined in there. So I ended up shooting 4 over total, I believe. Yeah. So
pretty darn good. Yeah.
That'll do the trick.
I was like 4 over on that hole and finished 4 over. So, hey, it was pretty good. But it was kind of fun because our assistant coach, it was her first tournament with GCU too. So we kind of had that mutual experience, and we're both just figuring it out. And we're both like, I think we both wanted to do so well. Like, she wanted to do well for us, and I wanted to do well for the team. So just kind of fun to go through that with her. And still to this day, we talk about it. We went to Coeur d'Alene this year, and we were like, oh, it's been, you know, a year since that time. And just cool to like reflect back on that. And I actually did better last year at my first tournament than I did playing there this year.
Okay.
Wow.
So
that's golf for you right there.
Yeah.
Yep.
I want to hear about, so, you know, we talked a little bit before how before college you were living a life where you thought you were living for the Lord, but you never had that personal relationship, and that's something that you've started to, you've been able to witness and experience through your college journey. And I think that's normal for a lot of people. I think that happened in our lives. It's happened in so many lives when you really are alone, right? For that first time, you're not relying on parents. You're not, like, you're all alone here for an amount of time. You have to give your life to the Lord. It happens all the time. What was that one moment for you? And I know the COVID probably did spur that on. What a crazy moment for athletes here. Harper, how you doing, Harper? Harper was the same way. He was in quarantine a lot. They got COVID a lot. I was gonna say props to you guys for not getting it, but we didn't see that man a whole lot our freshman year. But if you want to kind of get into your faith journey through those college years, I'd love to hear it.
Yeah. So I guess if you're wondering kind of that one defining moment, I do remember one day we were at the Collective on a Wednesday night. And I think this is a place a lot of people have given their life to the Lord, because the old college minister, he was just really good at always.
Granger?
Yeah, Granger. Yeah. He would always ask, at the end, close your eyes and just like let this moment be what it needs to be. And, he said, if there's anyone out there that like this message or the Lord's pulling on their heart, like if you just want to surrender it all, just like raise your hand, and it was after this sermon on relationships. And I remember I just needed to hear that in that moment. And I rose my hand, and that's when I was like, okay, Lord, like, let's do this. I don't know what this is going to look like, but I'm going to be all in. And so I guess tracking back, growing up, I grew up in a Lutheran household. We went to church every Sunday. My mom was kind of like the spiritual leader in our household. She ended up getting all in after she ended up not teaching when I was in 5th grade. So just being like more at home and running the household. And so she really got into her faith then and helped us all. But still, I didn't have that Christian community around me growing up. I was telling you guys yesterday, I never saw someone like fully living for the Lord until I came to GCU. And it was just such an awakening moment. Like, yes, I was going to church on Sundays. Yes, I was going to like confirmation on Wednesdays. And, they tried to teach us the Bible, but quite frankly, our class was so bad that half the time they were just disciplining us. So I didn't get that much out of it. And even, traditional Lutheran church, it's very, there's just like traditions that you do in the church, and it's not really like digging into the Bible necessarily. And so, still to this day, there's so much that I have to learn about the Bible, and, I'm getting there. I think we all have our own walks with the Lord, but, so that was kind of my upbringing, and I knew who God was. I knew God loved me, and I loved God, but I didn't know what that personal relationship was, like you said. And so, it was just, again, really hard not having people following the Lord around me, because I had no idea it's what it is. So I came to school, and I was, talking to different people about God and going to the collective and going to church on Sunday. And, it changed, the way I dressed, the way I spoke, the words I said, my weekend habits, and just kind of like how I viewed the world. And it was just like a really defining moment coming to school and being like, wow, like I kind of had it all wrong, but also like the Lord's so forgiving, and I know that he like forgives me for any wrongdoings that I had done, and that I, still to this day that we do.
Sure. Isn't it crazy how he just says 180, like he just flips your entire perspective of how to live your life for the Lord rather than for the world, and all of a sudden you're seeing the world through his lens, and all of a sudden those things matter, like the way you dress, the way you speak to others, the way you treat others, whereas like maybe it was just normal to do the things that were funny, or the things that just you weren't disciplined for it, so like let's keep doing it, it's fun, it's bringing me pleasure on this earth. But it's pretty clear that you had that spiritual awakening, and I think a lot of people at the collective, shout out North Phoenix and the collective, it's a place I'm sure we might have been there when
we might have moment. That's cool. But it's amazing too, like how the world will preach one thing to us, and then the Bible will preach another, of like, because the world will be all about trying to fit in and try these things that clearly the Lord like is not advocating for, like it's like the world is seeking about pleasure, and about like do what you want to do. And then the Lord is like, hey, surrender your life to me and I'll do something through you. And so it's like a very cool, it's amazing, right, to see like the difference between the two, right? And of course, everybody sins, we're all imperfect. But when someone's life is changed, it really is radically changed. And like the old habits and the old things that used to at least give me value, right, of, going out on the weekends, partying, doing all this kind of stuff, like ultimately it's like you see through it now, and it's like, is that really where my identity's found? It's like, no, it's in Christ. And so I think that's really cool, and I think that's, it's a very common thing. It's like, man, everything changes when God becomes first, and it's such a blessing.
And he's anti-cultural, right?
Right.
Like, I would imagine that successes that you had in sports before the Lord were like, they made you feel good about yourself. And they still should, because obviously you put all that work in, and you achieved something that you fought so hard for, and you should feel that great feeling of achievement. But how does now that the Lord has kind of proven to you, like, oh wait, he was planning my steps all along here, how does that change your mentality out on the course? If you have success with your team, or you have that individual success, or maybe things aren't going as well, how is the Lord kind of present throughout your rounds?
Yeah, so I think just every day and every way on the course, I'm just trying to glorify God, whether that's, being that example for my teammates as a Christian, or, my opponents. Like, sometimes it comes up in our conversations, like, we're golfing with those girls for 12 hours. It's such a big part of my life, so why wouldn't I talk about it? So it's become such a great platform for discipleship. And, I've met people who are total, atheists on the course, but also some of the strongest believers that we've played with, which is really cool to just work off of those conversations. But personally, in the peaks and valleys of the rounds, I just always remember like who I'm playing for, and it's just so much greater than me, and that takes so much pressure off of it, because it's not in my hands, and I know he doesn't view me any differently when I play good or bad. So ultimately, again, just everything to glorify him. And, again, trying to explain that to my teammates and trying to teach them that posture, because ultimately it helps my game, and it would help theirs too.
Sure.
So
a couple of weeks ago, we had to talk to Brian Beltrama, and it was cool because he gets to speak on athletes here at GCU, and he said, I get to speak to guys that are fully all in, and those are great conversations. I get to talk to guys that are kind of new in their journey, and what a privilege that is. There's also people that want nothing to do with it, but something that I feel like sometimes we hear, all right, they don't want anything to do with it, we should never force it on them. His way of looking at it was, I was there too, and I know what God did in my life.
Yeah.
So there's no reason I can't be absolutely unashamed. I can't be absolutely super bold about my faith to them. And it doesn't have to be by, forcing it on them, telling them get in the Bible. That doesn't work for everybody initially. Just by being who you are, I know that'll start to, work in them, and they're going to be like, what's different about Becca? Why is she so happy right now? Why is she so peaceful out on the golf course? And they're going to start to figure that out. So I know that that's something that you've been doing, and keep doing it. I know it'll continue to trickle down among your teammates.
Yeah. I mean, leading by example, right, is so powerful in anything, whether it's, at a company, right? If you're, you working hard, sets like, there's something about it that makes other people want to work hard. And in the same sense of like, when you look at your relationship with Christ, it's, if you're honoring him and trying your best to glorify him, other people are going to see that, and they'll have the opportunity to be like, there's something different about her, and about how she's playing the game and where her priorities are. And, it's amazing how God can work through that. Like, you're just being you, right? And going out and playing golf and honoring the Lord through it. And he's doing the work behind the scenes. And so I think you have a good point, Braden, of like, yeah, there's certainly opportunities to be super bold and to share the gospel. But a lot of times we share the gospel just through our love and through like the way we carry ourselves. And so I think it's a cool balance and something I'm still learning. It's like, of course, I want everyone to know the Lord, but I also don't want to like force it down their throat or turn people away. Like, that's the last thing, that I would want to do. And so finding that balance of hey, like I'm gonna lead by example. And of course, if somebody wants to talk and has a conversation, like they know where to find me.
Right.
When you open that door and like, share your faith with other people, they'll know where to find you and through the way you respond and act. And so I love it. I think there's a lot of really cool ways, obviously, like you can share your faith through the sport of golf. And I think it gives you an advantage having your faith. Like you said, you don't have to be so like, I mean, man, like I had a bad day, like, you know, and that defines you almost. Like, you know, who defines you now. And so has there ever been a challenge, and I assume there is, playing at the Division I level, of allowing your sport to still kind of try to define who you are? Have you found any struggles with that since giving your life to Christ? And if so, how do you refocus your eyes back on Christ?
Yeah. I would say yes, I have. Just being like an athlete, you know, like the media attention, or you know, all the posts about our wins and stuff, you do get kind of, you know, oh, we are really good, you know. Yeah. But you just have to like turn that back. Like, thank you, Jesus, for giving us these talents to be successful and to have these wins. And thank you for those opportunities to like then go out, like when we were there, disciple hopefully the girls you were playing with and your teammates. But also just kind of being an athlete and at GCU, it's a little bit of a bubble. Like, a lot of the things I do are purely just with athletes. And so kind of getting outside of that circle and having a community above and beyond athletes. And, you know, a lot of those athletes are believers. So that's amazing and super fruitful in friendship. But yeah, just having those connections outside of the athletic little bubble. So
yeah, I mean, you need it. You can't put all your eggs in one basket, right? And there's so many great people on this campus that you'd be dumb not to, right? I liked how you brought up discipleship, because I feel like your story is symbolic to where, like, God clearly had his hand of protection over your story. So does it kind of change your view on how you disciple others, whether it's your teammates or your friends, because you are a leader. You are the president of SAC, and I do want to hear about that as well, but you're in leadership roles. I would imagine you're a leader on your team and a leader for athletes in general with SAC. How do you incorporate discipleship into there from the experiences that you've had? Yeah. I know that's a big question, right?
Yeah, no. So, again, kind of drawing back to actions are kind of more than words, or mean more than words sometimes. So every person I talk to, whether it's, you know, the AD here at GCU or someone struggling to make the top 5 on our team, like, I try to approach everyone with, you're the most important person in my life right now. This conversation in front of me is the most important thing. Cool. And so I always want to make that person feel like that and hope that they see the joy of Jesus through me. And so those are kind of like 2 main points that I have in every conversation that I have. One of my professors last year taught me the conversation being the most important in that moment. And it's just like so stuck with me. But I feel that that's something that I do in every conversation, and just humbling myself before the Lord and taking up my cross every day and just realizing that it's just like so much greater than us, and he died on the cross for us, and he was, you know, humbly doing that. And the least thing that we can do is humble ourselves, you know, here on earth, and realize that we are just so little and he's so great.
Yeah, I love it. He took the mindset of a servant, and so he made us great and made himself lower. In that same way, you can say that through conversations, right? That we can be a listening ear, that we can hear, that we can lead, that we can help people. I mean, guess what we're called to do? We're called to love God and love people. And so I love that. And I think having those conversations and those groups of people who can listen and point you back to Christ, like you're saying, like, are just so important, because life will throw all kinds of things your way. And the community that you have around you to point you back upwards are just such a blessing. I do want to ask if is there something right now in your life that God is teaching you in this season, being a senior, having all these roles? Is there something that the Lord has kind of put on your heart during this time, and as your GCU career comes to a close here soon?
Yeah, I think throughout my college career, and, you know, it still rings true, is just patience and remaining patient and waiting and allowing his plan to be, the Lord of my life. Like, it's not my plan anymore, and just offering that to the Lord every day. Lord, what do you have in store for me today? What do you have in store for me this season? Praying those prayers, and I don't know, just we want to always take control of our life, and we want to think we have it all figured out, but I've tried and I've failed with that. And again, like, I come to the Lord like with a mess in my life, and I think we all do. Every day we don't have it figured out. So just offering that up to him and being patient. Graduation's coming up, and just trying not to get too far ahead. So kind of, again, keeping that like middle line, just not so up and down. Yeah.
We're all there with you, graduation in the spring, I'm assuming. Can't be looking forward too much. Can't be looking back. Got to live in the present.
Live in the moment.
And just live each day like it is a blessing, because it is, right? Becca, you've been awesome. We've learned a lot about you. The viewers are going to, you've got a lot of new fans now. They'll be watching the live streams, if there are live streams out on the course this year. But I think big things to come, right, for the GCU women's golf team. I think a WAC championship is definitely on the horizon, right?
Yes.
Let's go.
Let's get the ring.
Come on.
Cool. Well, anything else, David, before we wrap this awesome episode up?
Yeah. Not really much from my end. I'm honored to share the podcast with you. It's been awesome hearing your story, and I'm excited to see what you do on the course, but more importantly, what you do in the hearts of those around you. Clearly, you have a heart who's serving the Lord, and I'm excited to see what that brings through this season and then onward in the future. So, blessed to have you on.
Yeah, thank you guys so much. This is so fun.
Alrighty, well, that is going to do it for episode 23 of the Super Bowl podcast. We love you guys, and we'll see you next time.